It's not my fault that I have to do this. You only pick on me because I'm Jewish. Stop being a jealous loser and go get a job. I can do what I want because I'm chosen by God. you're getting hit. Iranian missiles have your entire skyline lit, and you cry victim and say you didn't start this, but the whole world sees that your lies are retarded.
Punch!
Like the Palestinians, how does it feel to have bombs drop on your civilians? Yo, you could avoid all this if you wanted to, but humanity never expected good behavior from you Jews.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
All right, we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream, man. Had to play a few bangers for you guys before we get going. As you guys know, the Israelis bombed Lebanon yesterday. One of the guys in the chat mentioned that. I didn't get time to go over it. But absolutely nuts that they're still conducting this stuff. So let's just jump right into the stream, guys. So basically, yesterday, the Israelis went ahead and let me clean up some of this stuff. Hold on, ninjas. So the Israelis bombed Lebanon roughly 36 hours ago or so, a day or two ago. And they were targeting a high-ranking member of Hezbollah, all right? And now for those of you that don't know, because I know we have a lot of new viewers here that might not have caught all my Middle Eastern coverage, for those of you that are new here, you know, we went into deep analysis on the Iran-Israel war that took place this past summer. As you guys know, I was probably one of the few sources on YouTube that was actually reporting what was actually going on the ground. Meanwhile, everybody else was pushing a bunch of Israeli Hezbollah propaganda talking points like air superiority and all this other shit, which is true. They did have air superiority. But the people were framing it in a way where, as if like the Israelis were winning. But I was vindicated because, as you guys know, a day or two ago, a former CIA guy, I think his name is like John Merkenau or something like that, was on a podcast, and he said that basically the Israelis threatened Trump to use a nuclear bomb against Iran if they did not destroy those nuclear facilities, right? And that adds credence to what I've been saying about that conflict, because the mainstream narrative is basically this, all right? In mid-June, the Israelis launched Operation Rising Lion, where they were able to basically kill several nuclear engineers and scientists and kill several high-ranking generals within the IRGC and Iranian military in general. They did this through having Mossad assets and other people in country building drones for whether it was months or years, preparing for this attack. So when the day came, the Mossad operatives that were in Iran ended up destroying a lot of Iran's missile defense systems, okay? And what this did was it allowed Israeli fighter jets to come in and drop bombs all over Iran because the spies, incapacitated the air defense. And basically for about 24 hours, Iran was blind and vulnerable, right? But kudos to them. 24 hours later, all we heard was fucking boom, boom, boom. Now, the mainstream media, Fox, CNN, everybody else was saying, oh, the Israelis are whooping their asses. The Iranians are begging for a ceasefire, blah, blah. Now we know that was all cap. Because what we do know now is that the Iranians absolutely hit targets that they wanted to hit. What we know now is that they hit a bunch of strategic locations that the Israelis didn't want getting out there. How do we know this? Because the Israelis forbid journalists from taking pictures or video of locations that got damaged. Why? Because they didn't want the Iranian intelligence apparatus to know how close they were to actually hitting some of the strategic locations that Iran was targeting. Now, obviously, it ended up coming out later. It took a few months to come out. But at the time when the war was actually going on, Israel was doing everything in their power to suppress any type of information which was making it look vulnerable. Because I've told you guys this before, and I'll say it again. Israel is a glass cannon, chat, okay? They can absolutely dish it, but they can't take it, okay? They cannot take a lot of casualties, which actually leads me to today's topic was Hezbollah, why the conflict ended with them, because they were losing in a ground assault, and they knew that they would not be able to sustain it, let alone make it to Beirut like they claimed. But that's a whole other conversation. So, what was I saying here? We were talking about, sorry guys, I didn't sleep much last night. With Hezbollah. Oh, so when the Iranians hit them in these locations, they did a lot more damage than they let on. And then Mercanow, or the former CIA guy, he confirmed it for me that the Israelis basically said, if you don't bomb these nuclear facilities, we're going to drop a nuclear bomb on them. And that obviously put Trump in a hard spot because if you guys remember that whole week back in like June 12th time frame where people kept asking Trump, are you going to bomb Iran? 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 Fucking literally for a week straight, reporters were just pestering him about that shit, right? And you can see him visibly get frustrated throughout the week as it progresses on. Like, hey, I might do it, I might not do it, who knows, So what ends up happening is he finally does bomb Iran with Operation Midnight Hammer, where they flew a bunch of B-2 stealth bombers, a whole fleet of them, into Iranian airspace, and they destroyed the 3 nuclear facilities. The most important one that they finished off was Fort O. And Fort O, for those of you that don't know, is a nuclear facility that's deep underground. It's under a mountain, okay? And the only people that had the capability of destroying this facility are us, because the Israelis don't have the bomb, okay, the huge bunker buster bomb that we have that can actually penetrate all the way and destroy the facility. And now that we know that the Israelis threatened potential nuclear warfare, that proves one thing, that the Israelis were not as, how do I say this, victorious throughout this conflict as they tried to claim. Because if you're going ahead and saying we're going to use nuclear weapons, that basically means you're getting your ass kicked, okay? This happened with the Yom Kippur War in 1973, where Arab nations invaded Israel, caught them with their fucking pants down, and almost destroyed Israel. However, Golda Meir, who was the prime minister back then, called Nixon and said, look, if you guys don't airlift us support, we're going to fucking nuke these Arabs. Nixon, seeing what happened during World War II and understanding the real consequences of nuclear warfare, gave her one of the biggest airlifts in history, and the Israelis were able to win that conflict. But they were losing, contrary to what popular belief. So history repeats itself. It was the same exact thing with the Iranians. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. And even the biggest Zionist will have to concede with me on this. The Israelis have a very complex and sophisticated air defense system. They have the Iron Dome, the David Sling, and then there's one other thing. But they basically have three different air defense systems, right, that shoot missiles down that come into Israel because they're constantly getting bombed by their enemies. They're getting bombed by Hezbollah. They're getting bombed by Hamas. They're getting bombed by the Houthis. So They've obviously been able to create a very elaborate and sophisticated air defense. But here's the problem. To run their air defense costs a lot of money. And then the interceptor missiles that they're using to shoot down missiles are far less in abundance than the missiles that the Iranians are shooting at Israel. So what does this mean? This means that this is a war of attrition, and in a war of attrition, time is your best friend. Well, who does time favor in this conflict? It heavily favored the Iranians. The longer the conflict went on, the less interceptor missiles there are, the more damage they could do at Tel Aviv and Haifa, okay? Which were some of the main areas that they were hitting, fucking bombarding them. So clearly, in this military engagement, because keep in mind, there was no boots on the ground in either country, right? The Mossad operatives that had operated in Iran, a lot of them were caught and executed. So it was really, the way it went was going like this. Israeli air defense goes towards Iran, shoots missiles. Iran retaliates by shooting missiles and drones back into Israel, okay? Now, the Iranians have one of the most sophisticated ballistic missile programs in the world, okay? This is where they've dumped all their money, to be honest with you. It's a huge deterrent against the Israelis. Though they don't have nuclear weapons, right, contrary to popular belief, they absolutely have a ballistic missile program that includes hypersonic missiles. What are hypersonic missiles? Hypersonic missiles are missiles that can basically penetrate through most air defense. They're too fast for the air defenses, especially the ones, the Iron Dome and the David Sling and Arrow and all that other shit. It's too fast to be picked up by the traditional or conventional air defense. So a lot of these missiles came through. And then on top of that, the Iranians have a lot of drones. And they're cheap. They're like $10,000 to $20,000 per drone. They were also shooting those over there because every one of those drones that cost $10,000 to $20,000, the Israelis had to spend like $1 million or $2 million just to shoot that shit down. So the math clearly ain't mathing. One guy's spending 10 to 20K over here. The Israelis are spending millions over here. Clearly this can't keep going. That is why, my friends, the ceasefire happened. And that is why, now that we've been able to put everything together, the Israelis threatened to use nuclear weapons, which confirms and vindicates what I told you guys before. The Iranians were absolutely fucking up the Israelis. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell y'all that the Israelis didn't fuck up the Iranians. They absolutely did. That first day of attacks, the surprise attack, was devastating. It took Iran damn near a full day to respond. But when they responded, they hit really fucking hard. Okay? So, now that we've established, right, the conflict between Israel and Iran, now we can go into Hezbollah. Because a big reason why the Israelis attacked Iran was because they were able to topple and destabilize Hezbollah by running what's a pager attack, a very sophisticated operation where the Israelis sold walkie-talkies, beepers, and other devices to Hezbollah members roughly 10 fucking years ago, by the way. And then they detonated all of them sometime in September on 2 separate days, right? Killed and or maimed a bunch of different Hezbollah guys. So ever since then, oh, and then on top of that, they also killed a guy named Hassan Nasrallah, who was the head of Hezbollah at the time, back in September of last year. So between the pager attack, the ground offensive that they fought with the Israelis, and the assassination of pretty much all of their higher-ranking guys, Fuad Shukr, Hassan Nasrallah, etc., the exile of Bashar al-Assad, Hezbollah has been extremely weak because once Hezbollah declared that ceasefire, and let's go ahead and show you guys this on a map so you guys really know what I'm talking about here. So the Israelis invaded on the ground down here into southern Lebanon in an effort to take out their missile systems that were shooting into northern Israel, okay, and had created a crisis where they had to vacate 60,000 people. So they invaded sometime September of 2024, right? They invaded, and then they were also simultaneously bombing Beirut. They ran their pager attack, bombed Beirut, and eventually, between all those 3 different things, getting hit on the ground, missiles, assassinations, all that other shit, there was a ceasefire between the Israelis and Hezbollah. As soon as that ceasefire happened, your guy, Ahmed al-Shara, this dude, you know, the Al-Qaeda guy, this dude right here, As soon as Hezbollah and Israel declared a ceasefire, Ahmed al-Shara took his guys and began the process of conquering Syria. They started in Idlib, went into Aleppo, took that over, took the M5 highway all the way down, took Hama, Homs, all of these major cities, eventually towards Damascus. By the time they got to Damascus, your boy Bashar al-Assad was out of there. He was in Russia, and that's where he currently is right now in exile. And the reason why this is important is because Hezbollah has been weakened, and since Hezbollah has been weakened, the way that they're able to rearm and recover and restructure is they relied upon the nation of Syria to allow this to allow the safe facilitation of weapons, resources, and other logistics needs that would come from Iran. Iran is the main backer of a lot of these countries known as the Axis of Resistance. So with Syria gone and destabilized and in the hands of Ahmed al-Shara, who doesn't like Iran and the IRGC, the weapons and the support was not able to get into Lebanon. So Hezbollah has never been able to actually fully recover. And that's where we are now. And that leads us to today. And for those of you that are wondering, this is Hezbollah right here. Okay, it's a Lebanese Shia Islamist political party and paramilitary group. Also, they're listed on the Foreign Terrorist Organization watch list, just like Hamas is, and they were both designated by Madeleine Albright. And if you're wondering about her, yep, every single time. But I digress. So that leads us to today, where even though there's a ceasefire between the Israelis and Hezbollah, they have still been bombing Lebanon, to include a big airstrike that they conducted yesterday. Now, before I get into this story, give me one shot if that all makes sense, because I have to give you guys the backstory. It's kind of complex. I hope that makes sense. But that was a quick little overview of how the hell we got here. Give me ones if that makes sense. Give me twos if it doesn't. Yeah, we haven't covered Middle Eastern affairs in a bit, so I had to give everybody a quick little refresher. And just so you guys know, if you guys want, I do have a video here that I'll show you guys real quick. I go into detail and explain all this stuff in this video. I would argue it's probably one of the best videos on YouTube, if not the best, that clearly explains how we got here. Let me find it for you guys real quick. Damn, I post a lot of content, bro. Name Hezbollah official, the attack took 1,500 Hezbollah. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so this video, guys, if you want to know what's going on in the Middle East, this is the best explanation by far of what led to October 7th, what happened on October 7th, and what happened after October 7th, because October 7th was the main trigger for all of this stuff going on all across the Middle East. Okay? So this video, it's called Why the Iran-Israel War is Inevitable, Every Escalation Explained. Right? And I made a point to make this video in an evergreen format so you can share this video with your friends. You can watch it yourself. You can go back and refer to it. Think of it as like a cheat sheet. If you're ever wondering how some of these geopolitical events in the Middle East are transpiring. So, and the good thing is also I went ahead and went into great detail. Look, I put dates in here. 11/11/2018, clashes began. 3/25/19, Gaza rocket to Israel. And I start from 2018 with the peaceful march all the way up until August of 2025. And I got every single date in here highlighted so that you guys can go ahead and look at each specific event. Right? So very well organized. In Tehran. This was very detailed. And this is probably the only video you need to watch if you want to understand this stuff. But I just gave you guys the elevator Cliff Notes version for sake of time. Okay. Now that I see all the ones, now that I put this video in the chat, let's kind of come into what transpired roughly 24 to 48 hours ago.
Israeli warplanes hit an apartment in a residential neighborhood in Beirut's southern suburbs. It's the first strike to hit the area, known to house Hezbollah officials, in months. And unlike previous attacks, it came without a warning.
And they're supposed to be in the middle of a ceasefire, but we know that the Israelis always break that ceasefire.
Not long after, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said they targeted Hezbollah's chief of staff, Haitham Ali Tabatabai, who they accuse of strengthening and arming the group.
And this is the guy that they, where is he? Haitham al-Tabatani, right? Also known as Abu Ali Tabatani, was Lebanese Hezbollah senior commander. According to reports, he served as a senior figure in Hezbollah Unit 3800, which has been involved in Hezbollah's activity in countries such as Syria, Yemen, and Iraq. He previously served as commander of the Rwandan force, Hezbollah's elite special forces unit. On October 26, 2016, the U.S. Department of State designated him as a specially designated global terrorist. And then here's a biography, everything else like this. But yeah, this is a guy that kind of, rose to power from the assassinations of all the other high-ranking Hezbollah members, because Israel's been doing a good job of, systematically eliminating all of Hezbollah's leadership. And with Syria being taken over by Jolani, the Hezbollah is not able to regroup and restructure, because this is why I showed you guys the map. Syria is on the border, but Iran cannot get the logistics and the items that they need to get over to Lebanon, because Syria is no longer a safe pass-through. Because al-Shara wants peace with the West and Israel. So, and I think he's kind of a Western puppet, to be honest with you guys. I think he's probably CIA-backed. But that's a whole other conversation. So he kicked out all the IRGC guys and is not allowing Hezbollah to obviously restock, resupply, and recover. So that's why the Israelis have been hitting Hezbollah so hard, because they're weak right now and they haven't been able to recover.
Israel continues to insist on the full enforcement of the
Okay, this woman, obviously, this is Israeli media now. She's a spokesperson for the Israeli government.
ceasefire agreement with Lebanon while taking steps to ensure our security.
See how the Israelis, bro, these guys are so fucking good at pushing out the propaganda. Listen to what she says.
Israel continues to insist on the full enforcement of the ceasefire agreement.
Israel continues to want to, fully enforce the ceasefire. Okay. You want to have the ceasefire fully enforced?
Israel continues to insist on the full enforcement of the ceasefire.
So they insist on enforcement of the ceasefire, but
agreement with Lebanon while taking steps to ensure our security.
What the fuck? See what I watch a lot of Israeli media, so like I get fucking like flashbacks whenever they say stupid shit like this. What she's basically saying is, oh, we expect them to adhere to the ceasefire, but we're going to do what we need to do for our security. Translation. Only we can attack. Hezbollah and the Lebanese cannot attack. See how they frame it? It's like the equivalent to saying, hey, don't bring a gun to a knife fight. We're doing a knife fight. Dude shows up with a knife, and then they come with the fucking gun when they said not to bring the fucking gun. Does that make sense, chat? And this is what they do. They use deceptive media slogans and comments and, statements like this to always paint themselves as the fucking victim. The Israelis are fucking fantastic at this shit. One of the best. Right? They be the aggressors. What do they say? Oy vey. We're just defending ourselves. Israel is hated by many. Israel has a right to exist. This is what they do. They do bullshit. They get hit back. Oy vey. Terrorists. They want us dead. But they won't tell you how they fucking bombed the shit out these motherfuckers and killed hundreds of innocent people. They'll never tell you that. They'll just turn the camera on when they get punched back in the face. But you never saw what happened that led to them getting punched in the fucking face. And if you guys notice, they frame themselves as the victims and then they call anyone that attacks them terrorists. I'll explain what I mean by this. As you guys know, Israel ran a very successful operation with the pagers. They were able to put explosives in these pagers and walkie-talkies damn near in the 2010s or 2014-ish. Sold the beepers and the walkie-talkies, all this other stuff, because Hezbollah didn't want to use cell phones and stuff like that because it's not as safe as older technology for communication. They sold it to them pretending to be a front company. That's what the Mossad did. Then they activated them all across Lebanon, and people were blown up everywhere. Motherfuckers were shopping with their family at the grocery store. Next thing you know, ding, 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 ding. And they just blow to smithereens and hurt people near them and or kill people near them or maim them. When Israel does it, it's called a intelligence operation. But if Hezbollah had done that to Israel, oh man. Bro, could you imagine? They're like, oh, these evil terrorists. So, in other words, Israel's able to do certain things and call it self-defense and an intelligence operation. Meanwhile, when their enemies retaliate against them, it's terrorism. And you're going to notice this when you watch Israeli media, guys, when you watch Mossab Hossein Youssef, when you watch Yosef Haddad, right? When you watch a lot of these fucking super pro-Israel people, right? They always frame it from the victim narrative and that everything that they do isn't terrorism, rather it's self-defense. Even when they preemptively attack first, bro.
Welcome, punch!
Because what's the Israelis' motto? Rise up and kill them first. That's literally one of their sayings. And then the Mossad, their old slogan used to be, through deception, we shall create war. This is the Israeli handbook. This is the Israeli game. And I wanted to really bring attention to that so that you guys understand how they play the media game when it comes to defending themselves. We'll play that back one more time because I do want you guys to really take all this shit in.
Continues to.
They accuse of strengthening and arming the group.
Israel continues to insist on the full enforcement of the ceasefire agreement with Lebanon while taking steps to ensure our security. We will not allow Hezbollah, the terror organization, to recover.
Tabatabai, who is considered an important military
Yeah, we want a ceasefire, but just for you guys, not us. That's basically what she's saying, bro.
figure, and the group's number 2 would be the latest setback. Hezbollah has not said how it would respond.
Today, once again, the Israeli occupation has struck the southern suburb of Beirut, which is yet another ceasefire violation by Israel, with the green light given by...
And guys, they've been bombing Lebanon like at least once a week for like a year, despite the ceasefire.
The United States to escalate...
And the main place that they target is southern Lebanon right here. And their argument is, oh, we're bombing southern Lebanon because they're still shooting rockets at us. That's their excuse.
The war on Lebanon.
Hezbollah has been sustaining Israeli attacks despite last November's ceasefire and has so far refrained from responding.
The major question is, how is Hezbollah going to respond? In my humble opinion, I don't think that Hezbollah is ready to give Netanyahu what he wants, meaning to give Netanyahu an excuse to launch.
Precisely. And this is another strategy that the Israelis do. They'll bomb your fucking embassy, they'll assassinate a high-ranking official, and then they'll sit there and say, okay, hit us back, because they know that they got the United States behind them. See what I mean when I tell you guys that the Israelis have a reckless foreign policy where they basically shoot first, ask questions later, because they know that they can run back to the United States to defend them? This is what they do. Over the past 2 years, they've bombed almost every country in the fucking Middle East now at this point, bro. Or been involved in bombing every country in the Middle East. All of their neighbors. They've attacked like 8 or 9 different countries. I remember there was 1 week where they bombed everybody. Literally, within like 7 to 8 days, these niggas bombed all of their neighbors, bro. Back in like the summertime. Absolutely nuts that they're able to get away with this shit. What other country can launch attacks, assassinate high-ranking politicians of an opposing military during a ceasefire with no consequence?
Fatality.
There's no other country that could do that. There's no other country that could do that. People say, oh, people have Israel derangement syndrome. Trying to fucking gaslight you. But the reason why people feel so strongly about this is because Israel's never held accountable for the bullshit that they do. Ever. Ever, bro. Ever. They're allergic to the term accountability. And the reason why the international community is so pissed off with these fucking guys is because if most countries adopted a foreign policy that Israel utilizes nowadays, if they adopted 10% of what the Israelis do, there'd be ridiculous sanctions, there'd be designation on terrorist watch lists, there'd be severed diplomacy, there'd be ostracization and exile. I would argue, as a matter of fact, let's be honest here, I would argue what the Israelis have done over the past 2 years is way worse than what Putin's been doing with Ukraine. And I fucking stand on that, man. Think about it. Russia invaded Ukraine for national security reasons to stop the expansion of NATO. We condemn him, call him a dictator, he's a war criminal, blah, blah, blah. Whole world sanctions Russia, ostracize them. Israel does the same shit on a higher level. What happens? Oh, we stand with Israel unequivocally. We'll give you all the aid that you want. We'll use our interceptor missiles to help protect you when Iran retaliates. Oh, and that's another thing too, by the way. We had to mobilize our aircraft carrier to be in a position to help Israel defend itself when those guys from Iran started shooting those missiles.
Boom, boom, boom.
No one ever accounts for the billions of dollars that it takes to restructure and or move our assets in a position to fucking defend these guys. Oh, it's only $4 billion, Myron. That's a drop in the bucket. Okay, bro. How about all the other fucking expenses that we incur with these niggas? Moving an aircraft carrier is not cheap.
On all-out war against Lebanon once again, that could help Netanyahu's political chances. It could also be very costly.
And Netanyahu wants to stay in war, guys, because when he's during wartime, he has absolute power. So what is he doing? He's doing what he always does. He's trying to antagonize a response.
There is growing concern that Israel, which has been acting with impunity, will increase its strikes.
We are witnessing
They absolutely will.
that the U.S. is no longer restraining Israel. We thought for a while that maybe the Gaza ceasefire was restraining Israel in Gaza or in Lebanon. We see now a shift. They are more reinforcing their role in Syria. We see Netanyahu on the border in Gaza and now in Lebanon. So I think we're seeing a trend.
In a few days, it will be a year since a ceasefire was supposed to end Israel's war against Hezbollah.
Hezbollah is in a difficult position. It has lost its deterrence capabilities. And without a response, it could invite more Israeli attacks. But if it
Absolutely, they're going to keep attacking. They're absolutely going to keep attacking. And here's the other thing, too, also, right, to give you guys a little bit more analysis. So, and I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't mention this to you guys before. So, Lebanon right now is in a crucial moment, okay? And I'll explain what I mean by this. As you guys know, Hezbollah is weakened. Hezbollah and the Lebanese army are two different entities, okay? Think of them as almost damn near two different political parties, right? After a lot of this shit happened, one of the demands that the Israelis in the West made of Hezbollah, of Lebanon, was they would force Hezbollah to disarm and allow the Lebanese army to be the only ones that have military force, if that makes sense. So in other words, hey, Hezbollah, you have to drop your arms and turn over all authority and power to the Lebanese army. For obvious reasons, Hezbollah refuses. Because they look at it like, if we give up our weapons, they're going to attack us even more because we're the only ones that stand up to the Israelis. The Lebanese army doesn't have the capability to actually stand up to the Israelis. And I'll be honest with y'all, they're fucking right. The Lebanese army does not have the same level of experience fighting the Israelis. Okay? Hezbollah, honestly, if I think about it, they're probably the most equipped and competent military that has fought the Israelis. They've actually won wars against them. They were created, I think, in 1982 to combat Israel. And then in 2006, they fucked them up because back in 2006, the Israelis, the IDF tried to invade southern Lebanon like last time. They got fucked up, had to retreat. On the last go-around last year, they claimed that they were going to make it all the way to Beirut, but they couldn't even make it to the fucking Litani River. And again, here's the map for thing. They claimed that they were going to make it all the way up here to Beirut. The IDF, that was the original objective. They couldn't do it, though. They could barely make it past the Litani River, which is down here in southern Lebanon. So Hezbollah has already fought and knows how to deal with Israel on the ground. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because this is precisely why Hezbollah will never give up their arms. They're like, yo, why are we going to give up our arms? Let these guys fucking invade us again and continue to attack us. They're never going to stop attacking us. Like, we got to fight back. So this is the current conflict that's going on in Lebanon. The official government is feuding with Hezbollah because they're saying, look, we want sanction relief. We want to work with the West. We want to make peace in the area. So Hezbollah, drop your arms. Hezbollah is saying, no, we're not dropping arms because the Israelis and the Americans can't be trusted. We need to continue to defend ourselves and fight back these Israelis. And they use examples with what happened with Iran. As you guys remember, we're in the middle of fucking diplomacy, right? With the JCPOA, with a nuclear deal similar to the JCPOA. And what did we do? We let the Israelis attack them with Operation Rising Lion. They were attacked, I think, on a Friday or a Saturday or a Thursday. Bro, Steve Witkoff and the Iranians were supposed to meet in fucking Qatar on Sunday. So let's get this straight. They have a scheduled meeting to discuss their nuclear program on Sunday. They're getting ready to go to Qatar. 2 days before, all of a sudden, they're getting fucking bombed everywhere. And they're like, what the fuck? Then they find out that the Israelis did it and that the United States knew. Would you want to work with the U.S. or do some type of diplomacy if you know that they were instrumental in you getting a fucking sneak attack? Your version of Pearl Harbor? Fuck no. And this is precisely why Hezbollah refuses to give up their arms. They don't trust the West, which I don't blame them. So that's the current rift that we have in the political landscape in Lebanon. Give me ones in the chat if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys here. So I want to make sure that everybody's tracking. Because this is extremely important to understand the political landscape in Lebanon right now. They're saying JFK had 3 shooters right now. Drop the link on OSS. If ABC is saying that, that's fucking crazy. That's normie shit.
Does respond, it could trigger a bigger Israeli bombardment that could hurt its support base. Zena Khadr, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
Well, Noor Auda is live for us in Ramallah in the occupied West.
Thank you, Flaming. Yeah, guys, if you're going to put 2 in the chat, say why you're confused, bro. Don't be retards, guys.
Bank and Noor are Israeli officials explaining why they would carry out an attack on a location like this on a...
Yeah, whenever we do complex analysis like this, chat, I always ask, I always do a poll to make sure people understand what's going on. Because I'm very well aware that what I'm telling you guys and what I'm showing you guys is not, widely distributed in American media. They don't want you guys to know this shit. So this is why I avidly watch American, Middle Eastern, and Israeli media and kind of give you guys the middle ground from all 3 or the facts from all 3. And I've been vindicated quite a bit.
target of that level while there's supposed to be a ceasefire in place?
Well, Sami, according to the logic of the Israeli government, and we've heard this time and time again throughout the year, this is in line with Israel's view of what the ceasefire should be. Israel has said from day one, almost an entire year ago, that it will enforce the ceasefire with Lebanon with fire. So assassinating the number 2 person in Hezbollah effectively, as far as Israel's...
All right, you guys know I always call out idiots. I got a retard in the chat, a mouth breather, named Lirith Valthier2236. How am I wrong, retard? You're about to get the pin of shame, you dumb bitch. Please tell me how I'm wrong. How am I wrong? Bro's trying to say that I lied. How am I wrong, dumb fuck? Go ahead, nigga. You got the floor. You got the floor. Let's see how I'm wrong, dumb fuck. You're going to be the idiot of the day today, buddy. Come on, mouth breather. How am I wrong? Don't fucking run now, bro. Don't run now. Stand on what you said, you fucking bitch. I got these armchair fucking political analyst niggas that don't know shit. You're probably Jewish, if I'm going to be honest. You're probably... Oh, here he is. No reality. All right, dude. Tell me how I'm wrong. And there's always one idiot from YouTube, by the way. Stupid fuck. And just like that, he don't got nothing to say. Fucking idiot. Bro, it never fails, bro. It never fails. I'll get some dumbass heckler who more than likely spends fucking dreidels on Fridays saying some dumb shit. And then I ask him, how am I wrong? And niggas just go silent. Stupid fuck. He's probably sitting in the back like, oh. Fucking bitch.
Concern does not break the ceasefire.
Do you not realize I'm a professional Hezbollah debunker? Do you not realize that I've debated more Zionists than I think anyone else on the fucking internet at this point? Between all the college campus debates, all the fucking, formal debates, etc. I don't think I know anyone else that's debated more Zionists than myself. Maybe Mehdi Hassan. Exactly. He don't got nothing to say. Stupid fuck. Dude, I'm these Zios what nightmare, bro. Also, SaharTV, you fucking bitch. You need to be fucking stop pushing out this Hezbollah. We can debate. You fucking let me know. Clip this shit. Send it to his dumb monkey ass. Okay? You ever want us to debate talking all this shit? I'll fucking cook you, bro. So stop talking shit. Clearly, you got your $7,000.
I got my $7,000. I don't give a shit about dead kids.
So take that little come up, do some research, and let's go, bitch. Fuck, man. And of course, this nigga has nothing to say. I knew it, fucking pussy.
In fact, we even heard from top Israeli officials saying that Israel is still committed.
He said, I'm not reading anything he says. What the fuck did you say, retard? Nobody sees you. You didn't say shit. What are you talking about? You and your retarded fucking username. Took you forever to respond. And now you want to say, I said something. Fuck did you say, retard? You didn't say shit.
To the ceasefire, but it would not
Bro
allow
said,
Hezbollah
block my chats, but then say I'm silent. Nigga, how do you... If I just read what you wrote just now, that means your chats aren't blocked, you stupid fucking idiot, bro. Oh, man.
You stupid.
Bro, you got a smooth brain, bro. Oh, my God, you got a fucking smooth brain. Holy shit. Yo, I guarantee, bro, when you went to school, you were one of those retarded niggas where they had to have a volunteer help you go to the bathroom and pee, bro. They had to hold that shit for you. You fucking dumbass. Holy shit, man. I'm tired of retarded niggas.
regroup.
Yo, Flaming Hearn, do me a favor, bro. You're one of the G's. If this bitch-ass nigga responds, just copy and paste what he says, and I'll look for it. But yeah, Flaming, keep your foot on this nigga's neck, bro. Shout out to one of my mods in the YouTube chat, Flaming Heron. Yeah, bro. Just look at what the fuck this dumbass is saying, and then just like copy and paste it.
To rearm, to regain influence in Lebanon, and it's pointing the finger at the Lebanese government for, as far as Israel is concerned, not doing enough to disarm the group.
All right, thanks so much. Noor Auda there. Rami Khouri is a distinguished fellow at the American University of Beirut. He joins us now from Boston. Good to have you with us. So first of all, what message do you see Israel is sending, Rami, by targeting this level of a Hezbollah official and in the suburb, the Dahiya of Beirut?
Well, Sammy, the message Israel is sending is the same one that it's been sending for years, that it does not believe that agreements it enters into need to be fully implemented if it thinks that it is threatened. It does not respect the opinions or the requirements of international law or UN resolutions. It only responds to intense pressure from one or two parties that can impact it, like the United States, for instance. And it'll do whatever it wants to do, including kill, destroy, smash economies, expel people, whatever, and colonize land. It feels that it must assert its supremacy in the historic land of Palestine, which is Israel and the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem. And this has been consistent for many years. The dilemma is that the Palestinians and the Lebanese and the Arabs and their supporters are not able to stop Israel, and they're now trying desperately to get the United States and others, possibly maybe Saudi influence with the U.S. and others, to rein in the runaway Israeli militarism. But this is something to be seen, because Lebanon has said, its top officials said that they're willing to enter into negotiations with Israel if the international community, meaning mainly the U.S., guarantee that Israel will stop attacking Lebanon. Israel is unlikely to make that kind of commitment. And even
all right, Flaming, he's not saying shit, right? Because he keeps saying, he literally keeps saying, oh, I addressed your points, but he didn't. Dude's retarded. All right, cool. We'll just ignore that nigga then. He had his chance. He didn't say shit. He's a stupid Zio.
And if it does make it, it won't adhere to it. So it's a big dilemma for the Lebanese. And
donate link is MyronGainsX.com, guys.
Especially for
$10 and up. Or if you're an OSS member, you can donate through there. That's the best way.
Hezbollah.
Rami, of course, we should point out that Israel is occupying Lebanese territory as well as...
They are, southern Lebanon.
...territory of Syria and the Palestinian territory. But the Israeli line of this is that Hezbollah is failing to honor its side of the agreement because it's not disarming and it's in fact rearming. How do you see that?
I think it's probably correct that it's rearming, and it has been arming and rearming for decades, as have some Palestinian groups, as has Yemen, others all around the region. Because if Israel and the United States are going to use military power as their primary instrument of control and influence and defense, then it's natural to expect the people that they're attacking and subjugating to try to fight back. I mean, resistance is it's the biological antidote to subjugation.
And not only that, like they have, according to international law, the Lebanese, the Palestinians, etc., all these people have the right to resist occupation through armed resistance. This is something that often gets, never gets quoted. But according to international law, you can absolutely fight your occupier. And the Israelis, by definition, are occupiers. By fucking definition.
And occupation. It's not just a policy decision. It's the flesh and the mind and the spirit and the soul of every human being in the world tells you if you're unfairly subjugated and mistreated, you're going to resist in any way you can. The Arab parties have tried different forms of resistance with varying results, and they're still trying to find the way that they can stop Israel's continued militarism. They've made peace offers to coexist with Israel, which Israel has ignored. So the Arab side doesn't quite know what to do, but they're going to keep trying different things. You can be sure that Hezbollah is not going to just accede to the Israeli demands. But we don't know what they're going to do and what other people might do in the region. So this is the great dilemma that the whole world faces, because not only has Israel's sense of superior rights and security in the region damaged the entire region, it's now damaging the civil rights of Americans and Europeans by stopping freedom of speech and things of that nature. So most of the world is, I think, concerned about Israel's runaway arrogance and militarism, and I think we're going to see some moves to somehow try to rein
Where does
this in.
that leave the Lebanese government? Does it weaken the Lebanese government?
Well, the Lebanese government is chromosomally weak. It's been weak since it was
I'm just going to grab an energy drink real quick, guys. Give me 1 sec.
established. I mean, the country was established by European colonial powers as a weak state that could not ever harm Israel and could be easily manipulated by imperial powers, the French and the British mostly. Now the Americans have taken over that role. But it's, you know, the offer that the Lebanese prime minister and president made last week to saying that they would be happy to negotiate with Israel if there are international guarantees that will stop the Israelis from constantly attacking and destroying Lebanon. And this is fascinating, coming after the American pledge to Qatar, after the Israelis attacked Hamas in Qatar, the Americans pledged to Qatar that Israel will never attack Qatar again. So maybe the Lebanese are trying the same thing, to get the U.S. involved in mediating a permanent ceasefire that is actually implemented with an American guarantee that Israel will never again attack Lebanon if Lebanon or Hezbollah doesn't attack Israel. So this is a fascinating dynamic that we have to keep our eye on. But I think this is the trend, to get the Turks involved, to get the Saudis, the Pakistanis, Indonesians, whatever, whoever might be involved in the Gaza governance and peacekeeping, and the U.S. to ratchet up the U.S.'s involvement in a serious way that achieves the one goal that has never been achieved, which is to affirm that the Palestinians or the Lebanese or other Arabs have exactly the same rights as Israel does to statehood, sovereignty, security, dignity, and development. That parity has never been formally accepted. And of course, this is what colonialism is all about.
Right.
From the last century to now, we've seen this pattern.
Right. Thank you so
Ah, fuck. Okay, sorry. Wow, you guys missed all that. God damn it. God damn it. I got to give myself an L on that one. All right. Sorry about that. I'll read them again. Mario says, I just joined OSS 300, Myron. Did you end up receiving my package? I don't know. ICE supposed to give it to me, but I didn't get it yet. Fighter Fire Jackson, have you ever thought of being a university lecturer on Middle Eastern foreign affairs? You're very talented, may teach students something. The problem is that this type of education, guys, is technically illegal now under the Department of Justice. Like, they just literally bullied Harvard and Yale on this. Real Pill Clippers, like the goddamn video. Yep. Guys, if Israel didn't exist, 80-90% of world problems would neither. Maysam, I really respect you, Myron, for elaborating on these wars, even though it might be repetitive for you. Thank you. Snuff Music, thoughts on Meghan Markle fight Prince Andrew? She's a whore. Ken Rose, thumbs up. TY, when Myron says, here's the thing, you know he's finna cook. You know that. Loch Ness Monster, hey, Myron, this is Jonathan Pollard. Okay. T. Fred, off topic, but do you think it's possible intel agents are feeding Candace bogus shit? I don't know. Noah, but you've been saying the Vivid Pro Israel account on X is a G all the time. Did you hear about the update, location update? Yes, I did. Pop. I want to take his life, but nigga, fuck it. Okay, that's 6'9". Snuff Music, like the fucking video, you ninja watchers. Red Pill, Clippers, Let's Fun Go, W. Myron, W. Fuhrer. Snuff Music, Christ King. Your price is, could you cover the BB files on OSS one night? Here, man, if you want to make Indians ship out, the worst thing you could do is call their coolie. Okay, fair. All right. All right, we're caught up on chats, I think. And shout out to you, Mario, for joining the OSS 300. Okay, we covered the Middle East. Let's go ahead and get into this 28-point plan, okay, with this 28-point plan with Russia, Ukraine. Hold on one sec, chat. All right, let me see something here, chat, because one second, chat. Shit. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to message Fresh and figure out if we're still gonna do Money Monday today, because apparently some shit just happened that he has to deal with.
.28 White House peace plan for Ukraine was leaked today, so I'm going to go through all 28 points step by step, the good, the bad, and the truly baffling. If you want to read these points yourself, head on over to ryanpeth.substack.com. I have them listed there for free. This is not the best outcome for Ukraine, but as pleasant as it would be for Russia to collapse, at which I have a whole video about this coming out at 12 p.m. Eastern today, if Russia collapses, what we get is a fractured state. So imagine the breakup of Yugoslavia, but some of the warlords have nuclear weapons. If Russia collapsed tomorrow, that would be manageable. The nightmare scenario happens if Russia collapses Babylon AD style while the United States is fighting China over Taiwan. So if this war between Ukraine and Russia drags out until 2027, 2028, and the U.S. is at war with China over Taiwan, now we have to pull troops from the Pacific to go secure Russian nuclear weapons if Europe can't get it done themselves. Not a great outcome. I've also said before, there is no win. Russia loses this war, Ukraine loses this war. The question is, who loses more? Right now, this peace plan hands Russia what might be considered a win. Like I said, full 28 points can be seen at ryanpeth.substack.com. You want to support the channel, grab a NORAD Christmas sweater from Bunker Branding. At least the NORAD alliance with Canada is unshakable. I have a flight to catch at 4. My watch is charging. 4 p.m. Eastern time, so there's going to be a lot less editing and graphics on this video than normal. Let's get started. Number one, Ukraine's sovereignty will be confirmed. So this is a minor win for Ukraine. Russia must agree that Ukraine has a right to exist. The only issue is that it doesn't really mean anything. Dictators lie. I mean, Russia lied in 2022 when they said, oh, we're not going to invade Ukraine during our exercises in Belarus. Why would this be any different? So this is more symbolic than anything else. Number two, a comprehensive non-aggression agreement will be concluded between Russia, Ukraine, and Europe. All ambiguities of the last 30 years will be considered settled. I'm not sure what those ambiguities are. The biggest ambiguity is Crimea, which Russia literally stole. Now, they stole it from a Ukrainian government in 2014, which was a freaking basket case. Since then, the Ukrainian government has gotten better. But again, can you sign a non-aggression agreement with Russia when Russia breaks the rules all the time? So, you know, this seems to lock in concessions from Ukraine in return for unenforceable promises by Russia. Number three, it is expected that Russia will not invade neighboring countries and NATO will not expand further. So this is the most laughable part of the document. Russia must take Ukraine. And then it must take the Baltics and then try to take Poland. One of Russia's biggest problems is that they have this massive, indispensable land border with no major rivers or mountains. So they have to take Ukraine, and then they can kind of secure the neighboring countries.
Hey guys, just so you know, chat, we're not gonna have a Money Monday today. Some stuff just popped off, and Fresh can't come. He has to handle some shit. Very important behind the scenes. That's what I'm on the phone with him for.
One of Russia's biggest
So yeah, guys, that's
they have this massive,
what the hell?
land border with no major rivers or mountains. So they have to take Ukraine. And
sorry. Yeah, so sorry about that, guys. Guys, I'm on the phone with Fresh right now. Sorry about the echo. I'm on the phone with Fresh right now, guys. We're canceling the Money Monday. We're just gonna do after hours at 11. He has to handle some shit right now. So let me and we could push this back to another day. We could do can you do a Money Monday for them like this week or something? We'll figure it out. All right. Chat, just bear with me real quick.
Carpathian Mountains, then they take the Baltics, and they take Poland. All of those countries are on the menu because it shrinks a 1,400-mile border down to 150 miles. Permanently freezing NATO gives Russia exactly what it wants. And there's no question as to whether or not this is legal. The kind of deal with being a nation state is that any sovereign nation state can make any kind of agreement it wants with any other nation state. Nobody is forced to join NATO. Nobody is pressured to join NATO. In fact, joining NATO is a pain in the ass because you have to bring your military up to NATO standards. But this whole, all right, NATO isn't going to expand anymore, that's insane. There's no other word for it. It's insane. If Australia wants to join NATO, we're going to say no. Like, what? Why would we say no to that, right? So intentionally handcuffing ourselves while not requiring any kind of concessions from Russia is absolutely insane. Number four, a dialogue will be held between Russia and NATO, mediated by the United States, to resolve all security issues and create conditions for de-escalation in order to ensure global security and increase opportunities for cooperation and future economic development. So essentially, the U.S. becomes a referee, which also makes us the bad guy to both sides. And meanwhile, we aren't selling any weapons to Ukraine, which doesn't deter Russia. Number five, Ukraine will receive reliable security guarantees. So guarantees are only as strong as the guarantor's political mood. And in the U.S., that changes every 4 years. Sometimes with the current administration, it changes every week or every day or with every truth that's put out on Truth Social. So, you know, allowing Ukraine to join NATO would be the best guarantee, but for some reason, we're taking this off the table. Number six, the size of the Ukrainian armed forces will be limited to 600,000 personnel. So this isn't as disastrous as you think. Yeah, you can't disarm a country while negotiating for peace, but kind of like in my alternate history novel, The Last Republic, there are ways around it. In my novel, the U.S. declares war against the mostly Mormon nation of Deseret over water rights when Deseret starts building the Boulder Dam. Deseret counterattacks. It takes most of northern Arizona, and in the peace treaty between the U.S. and Deseret, both sides agree not to put any military in Arizona. So Deseret creates the DSS, which is a gendarme Mountie kind of organization, and the U.S. creates the Arizona State Police, which is basically a paramilitary organization. So both sides have military, just called a different name. I could see, and by the way, get the book on Amazon.com or Audible if you're a Marine. But both sides. All
right, sorry about that, guys. There's some YouTube shit behind the scenes that Fresh is dealing with right now, so that's why we had to cancel the Money Monday. But that's basically what it is. So sorry about that, guys. I'm going to rewind this shit a little bit. I apologize if this is redundant, but I want to go over each one because it is very important that we acknowledge the sovereignty thing and a couple of the others stuff going on here.
Collapse tomorrow, that would be manageable. The nightmare scenario happens if Russia collapses Babylon AD style while the United States is fighting China over Taiwan. So if this war between Ukraine and Russia drags out until 2027, 2028, and the U.S. is at war with China over Taiwan, now we have to pull troops from the Pacific to go secure Russian nuclear weapons if Europe can't get it done themselves. Not a great outcome. I've also said before, there is no win. Russia loses this war, Ukraine loses this war. The question is, who loses more? Right now, this peace plan hands Russia what might be considered a win. Like I said, full 28 points can be seen at ryanbet.substack.com. You want to support the channel, grab a NORAD Christmas sweater from Bunker Branding. At least the NORAD alliance with Canada is unshakable. I have a flight to catch at 4. My watch is charging. 4 p.m. Eastern time, so there's going to be a lot less editing. So this is a...
Okay, let's get into it. So number one, and I apologize for that, guys. Lots of fucking shit going on right now, dude. Getting pulled in a fucking million directions. 4 or 5 different people calling me, all this other bullshit, so I apologize for that. Very unprofessional. I'm sorry. Okay, so number one, Ukraine sovereignty will be confirmed. Now, this is, I ain't gonna lie to you guys, this is kind of a nothing burger. This is the equivalent almost to Palestine being recognized. Unless there's like actual, real peace talks and negotiations, it doesn't matter. This is a very cosmetic agreement. But, you know, that's obviously very important for the Ukrainians. They want to maintain national pride. They don't want to look like they're, you know, they want to be able to leave this conflict with dignity.
Minor win for Ukraine. Russia must agree that Ukraine has a right to exist.
And obviously, you guys know this. Russia wouldn't like that too much because Putin looks at Ukraine as this. We are one. You guys are part of us. Like Putin, his philosophy is he wants to damn near bring the Soviet Union back, where all these different, you know, countries were under the USSR. So he looks at it as like a tragedy that ethnic Russians are living all across Eastern Europe, and their own governments are sometimes ostracized and or abused for doing so.
The only issue,
like in the Donbass or Eastern Ukraine, where, you know, ethnic Russians are constantly fighting with the Ukrainian forces,
is that it doesn't really mean anything. Dictators lie. I mean, Russia lied in 2022 when they said, oh, we're not going to invade Ukraine during our exercises in Belarus. Why would this be any different? So this is more symbolic than anything else. Number two, a comprehensive non-aggression agreement will be concluded between Russia, Ukraine, and Europe. All ambiguities of the last 30 years will be considered settled. I'm not sure what those ambiguities are. The biggest ambiguity is Crimea, which Russia...
Yeah, they're purposely writing it in that manner to allow for more diplomatic wiggle room.
Russia literally stole. Now, they stole it from a Ukrainian government in 2014, which was a freaking basket case.
And just so you guys know, that's when the war actually started, was during 2014 and the Maidan Revolution, when they overthrew the government. Shout out to Create Chaos for the gifted sub. Appreciate you, my friend. But this conflict, guys, didn't start in February of 2022. It started in 2014.
Since then, the Ukrainian government has gotten better. But again, can you sign a non-aggression agreement with Russia when Russia breaks the rules all the time? So, you know, this seems to lock in concessions from Ukraine in return for unenforceable promises by Russia. Number three, it is expected that Russia will not invade neighboring countries and NATO will not expand further. So this is the most laughable part of the document. Russia must take Ukraine, and then it must take the Baltics and then try to take Poland. One of Russia's biggest problems is that they have this massive, indispensable land border with no major rivers or mountains. So they have to take Ukraine, and then they can kind of secure the Carpathian Mountains, then they take the Baltics, and they take Poland. All of those countries are on the menu because it shrinks a 1,400-mile border down to 150 miles. Permanently freezing NATO gives Russia exactly what it wants.
And that is what that was the chief concern from the beginning.
And there's no question as to whether or not this is legal. The kind of deal...
Someone said there's double audio. Fuck you talking about there's double audio?
With being a nation state is that any sovereign nation state can make any kind of agreement it wants with any other nation state. Nobody is forced to join NATO. Nobody is pressured to join NATO. In fact, joining NATO is a pain in the ass because you have to bring your military...
It's a big waste of time, too, to be honest. Like, I don't know why we still fucking fund it and keep it going. It's retarded.
Up to NATO standards. But this whole, all right, NATO isn't going to expand anymore, that's insane. There's no other word for it. It's insane. If Australia wants to join NATO, we're going to say no. Like, what? Why would we say no to that, right? So intentionally handcuffing ourselves while not requiring any kind of concessions from Russia is absolutely insane. Number 4, a dialogue will be held between Russia and NATO, mediated by the United States, to resolve all security issues and create conditions for de-escalation.
Okay.
In order to ensure global security and increase opportunities for cooperation and future economic development. So essentially, the U.S. becomes a referee, which also makes us the bad guy to both sides. And then meanwhile, we aren't...
Well, it's also kind of funny because we're the leaders of NATO. So it's like, what? How are we supposed to be the neutral party, but also be the leader of the opposing party?
Any weapons to Ukraine, which doesn't deter Russia. Number 5, Ukraine will receive reliable security guarantees. So guarantees are only as strong as the guarantor's political mood. And in the U.S., that changes every 4 years. Sometimes with the current administration, it changes every week or every day or with every truth that's put out on Truth Social. So, allowing Ukraine to join NATO would be the best guarantee, but for some reason, we're taking this off the table. Number 6, the size of the Ukrainian armed forces will be limited to 600,000.
Now, this is the standard, right? Whenever you're making a peace deal like that and one party's winning, this is a very typical boilerplate move is, all right, we beat you guys in the war. Now you got to maintain your military at a, fractured amount for the time being, so you're never a threat to us again.
Personnel. So this isn't as disastrous as you think. Yeah,
that's standard in military treaties or peace treaties, excuse me.
Disarm a country while negotiating for peace, but kind of like in my alternate history novel, The Last Republic, there are ways around it. In my novel, the U.S. declares war against the mostly Mormon nation of Deseret over water rights when Deseret starts building the Boulder Dam. Deseret counterattacks. It takes most of northern Arizona, and in the peace treaty between the U.S. and Deseret, both sides agree not to put any military in Arizona. So Deseret creates the DSS, which is a gendarme Mountie kind of organization, and the U.S. creates Arizona State Police, which is basically a paramilitary organization. So both sides have military, just called a different name. I could see, and by the way, get the book on Amazon.com or Audible if you're a Marine, but both sides created gendarmes. I could see Ukraine creating a sort of gendarme paramilitary force, calling them the State Security Forces or State Security Force Reserves. So this isn't as big of a deal as you might think. 7, Ukraine agrees to enshrine in its constitution that it will not join NATO, and NATO agrees to include in its statutes a provision for Ukraine not to be admitted in the future.
Okay, transgressions that will not join. Yep.
This is a disaster, both for NATO and Ukraine, especially since Ukraine has so much to offer the U.S. when it comes to drone and counter-drone tech. It's like we're just willingly giving up a regional partner, and the only one that has recent experience in a large-scale combat operations conflict. And that's a valuable friend to have. Number 8.
No, bro. Look, we already got the information that we needed to get. I disagree with this fat guy. We did what we needed to do. We tested our weapons. We looked at Russia's capabilities from a military standpoint. We came damn near right to the edge of war and stopped. So if Ukraine's going to continue to create problems with us against a nuclear power, dude, we don't have to be the fucking world police, man. This whole like interventionist foreign policy that we're gonna run where we're the world's police, like we don't need that shit, dude. We don't need that shit. We open ourselves up to an incredible amount of liability, and quite frankly, has quality of life went down for any of you guys? The only thing I would say, maybe your food price went up a little bit, maybe. But is it worth potentially getting into a nuclear war for this shit? Because I'll tell you guys this right now. Putin wants Ukraine way more than we want it. He wants it way more than we want it.
NATO agrees not to station troops in Ukraine. This is very bad because Ukraine.
That's basic though, and I mean that's a given. They don't. The last thing they would want are NATO troops in Ukraine at all. That's a big reason why how we ended up here.
Essentially becomes a de facto buffer state. Number 9, European fighter jets will be stationed in Poland. Again, this is very bad because Ukraine becomes a buffer state. Number 10, here's the U.S. guarantee. The U.S. will receive compensation for the guarantee. If Ukraine invades Russia, it will lose the guarantee. If Russia invades Ukraine, in addition to a decisive and coordinated military response, all global sanctions will be reinstated.
So this is interesting. So if Ukraine invades Russia, it will lose the guarantee. Which they're not going to do that. If Russia invades Ukraine, in addition to decisive coordinated military response, all global sanctions will be reinstated. Recognition of new territory, all other benefits deal will be revoked. If Ukraine launches a missile at Moscow or St. Petersburg will cause, a security guarantee will be deemed invalid. Okay, so they're putting a penalty on both parties if they violate. Okay, so Russia loses new territory that's recognized, and the sanctions are reinstated. Now, for those of you that don't know, there's been sanctions on Russia since 2014. And what Russia's been doing is it's been almost like future-proofing itself. And the way that it's been future-proofing itself is by procuring a lot of gold. As many of you guys know, to bring things together, in Sudan, right? You guys know that there's a civil war going on over there. Hemeti, the leader of the Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF, one of the things that he did was he got a lot of weapons and support from Russia. What did he give in exchange? A lot of gold. As a matter of fact, on the day that Russia invaded Ukraine, Hemeti was in Russia to hand over a bunch of gold. Why do the Russians want to have gold? Well, the Russians understand that anytime they get into a military conflict, and just the way that they're viewed by the West in general, they knew that going into Ukraine was going to fuck them up economically. They had already endured a lot of this pain from the 2014 Crimea invasion, right? So they future-proofed themselves by having gold, hard assets. And despite the fact that they've been sanctioned now for several years, the economy still rose and grew significantly. At one point, I think they were the 5th strongest economy in the world. So, but obviously them being able to, have global trade again and be brought back on SWIFT and, relieving the sanctions, that would bring them up even further. And also very important, the United States and the world is willing to recognize all the territory that Putin's taken. I think Putin's taken somewhere around 20 to 33%, like damn near 1/3 of Ukraine now at this point, mostly eastern. So if he was to attack again, sanctions come back in, they get a military response, and I think this is the most important thing, they no longer recognize the newly acquired territory that they currently have now. So I think this isn't a bad check and balance here. But, hey, we can all have wishful thinking, right?
Recognition of the new territory and all other benefits of this deal will be revoked. If Ukraine launches a missile at Moscow or St. Petersburg without cause, the security guarantee will be deemed invalid. Now, a couple of things to unpack here. I'm not sure who's compensating the U.S. here. It sounds like someone is supposed to pay us. Is this a retainer for negotiating peace? But who is that? Is that Ukraine? Is that Russia? I think it's supposed to be Ukraine. The next words are interesting. If Ukraine invades Russia, they'll lose the guarantee. So I guess that means Ukraine has to put up money, but Russia doesn't. Russia just gets their sanctions removed, but then they get slapped back on if they invade. There is a section here that says if Russia invades Ukraine, in addition to a coordinated military response, which does that mean NATO will respond? Does that mean the U.S. will respond? We don't really know. That could be a good thing. That the U.S. is saying, we're going to back this up. Russia, you get to keep the territory you have, but if you take one more step, we attack you. I mean, that's a nice little thing to put in a document. I just don't believe we actually would. because we're conceding so much to Russia already. I don't think Russia believes we would actually back up these guarantees. So, yeah, this doesn't make a lot of sense as a deterrent strategy, saying you're going to slap sanctions back on Russia, because Russia's already fighting under sanctions. And
yeah, and they insulated themselves by having a bunch of gold that they got from Sudan. Big, big, big deal.
they're managing to do it, even though it is just slowly destroying their economy. So this actually wouldn't change anything.
Their economy's actually gotten better during this conflict, incredibly enough.
11. Ukraine is eligible for EU membership and will receive short-term preferential access to European market while this issue is being considered. I mean, it's not a guarantee for EU membership, but it's better than nothing. And I think really one of the points of this war was Russia didn't like the idea of Ukraine kind of getting closer to the West or getting...
That's 100% the problem.
EU membership.
Doesn't want a Western ally right on his border.
Number 12, a powerful global package of measures to rebuild Ukraine, including but not limited to the creation of a Ukraine Development Fund to invest in fast-growing industries, including technology, data centers, and artificial intelligence. The United States will cooperate with Ukraine to jointly rebuild...
Okay, so this is responsibilities on us and NATO to basically, look, Ukraine, accept this deal. Yeah, you guys are losing 1/3 of your fucking land. Yeah, you guys lost like 1 million soldiers, but if you agree to this deal, we are going to help you move forward and give you a bunch of aid to rebuild all of the destruction that the Russians caused. So this is going to be more incumbent on us to fulfill.
Develop, modernize, and operate Ukraine's gas infrastructure, including pipelines.
So what does that mean? More foreign aid. That means more foreign aid, ninjas.
Lines and storage facilities, joint efforts to rehabilitate war-affected areas for restoration, reconstruction, modernization of cities and residential areas, infrastructure development, extraction of minerals and natural resources. The World Bank will develop a special financing package to accelerate these efforts.
If
this
you
is
agree
good
to this
for
deal,
Ukraine.
we are going to help you
It
move
means that the
forward
money
and give you
starts
a bunch
flowing
of
into
aid.
Ukraine for rebuilding infrastructure and development. It also means demining, which is going to be a big deal. There's a lot of Russian bombs all over Ukraine that need to be disarmed and disposed of. Number 13. Russia will be reintegrated into the global economy. The lifting of sanctions will be discussed and agreed upon in stages on a case-by-case basis. The United States will enter into a long-term economic cooperation agreement for mutual development in the areas of energy, natural resource infrastructure, artificial intelligence, data centers, rare earth metals, extraction projects in the Arctic, and other mutually beneficial...
Okay, so as you guys know, I told you this before, Russia's been exiled from the global economy for a very long time now, and they've been able to still make do and keep going despite getting kicked off SWIFT. Heavy sanctions from the West. They don't got McDonald's. They have to make their own brands and shit like that. The lifting sanctions will be discussed and agreed case by case. So basically, once again, this is the United States holding up their end of the bargain, where we are going to let them come back and get acclimated with the world economy that they've been ostracized from for years now.
Beneficial corporate opportunities. Russia will also be invited to rejoin the G8. Now, this is kind of where I get what the White House is doing. After World War I, Germany was not only humiliated but forced to pay reparations, and this is essentially
the Versailles Agreement
that led to World War II. So this package is designed to make sure that
Hitler wasn't too happy about that Versailles Agreement.
Russia doesn't collapse, and we suddenly end up with multiple warlords who have nuclear weapons running around Russia, Babylon, AD style. And the harsh truth is that unless Russia collapses, Russia is probably going to get away with this. It isn't one of those movies where the screen freeze frames into black and white and the screen crawl says, and Russia was punished.
Bro, nobody gets punished for their war crimes, bro. Let's be honest here. Nuclear power countries don't get punished for war crimes. We don't. Russia doesn't. China doesn't.
And people lived in peace forever and ever. That's not real life, man. That's not the world we live in. So any kind of peace agreement might eventually involve restarting trade with Russia or what's left of it. Number 14, frozen funds will be used as follows. $100 billion of frozen Russian assets will be invested in U.S.-led efforts to...
Hey, guys, do me a favor. Smash that like button, by the way. Okay? Smash that like button for me. It's got over 2,000 to 3,000 you guys in here. Smash that like button. Helps a lot with the channel. We're going to be going longer than expected. I thought this was going to be only an hour-and-a-half show, but we're going a little bit longer because some shit popped off. I think Fresh is making a bunch of phone calls behind the scenes and stuff like that.
Build and invest in Ukraine. The U.S. will receive 50% of the profits from this venture. Europe will have $100 billion to increase the amount of investment available for Ukraine's reconstruction. Frozen European funds will be unfrozen. The remainder of frozen Russian funds will be invested into a separate U.S.-Russian investment vehicle, which will implement joint public projects in specific areas. This fund will be aimed at strengthening relations and increasing common interests to create a strong incentive not to return to conflict. So trade doesn't always necessarily mean a country won't invade. I mean, again, look at the last republic. The U.S. and Deseret were major trading partners. Deseret was sending lithium and copper to the United States. The United States was turning that into trucks and batteries and sending finished goods over to Deseret, and we still invaded. In fact, in my second novel, Lies to Rule Men, Deseret cuts off copper to the United States after reports of the My Lai massacre happened, and Richard Nixon says to Kissinger, "So now the Saints have decided they're the conscience of the continent. They don't like what they saw in My Lai, so they shut off the copper and pretend they're Switzerland with scripture. Well, let me tell you, sir, Deseret doesn't get to play neutral. They live in our economy under our sky, and now they think they can ration our energy like it's penance. No, sir. You don't cut off minerals in this game, you're not neutral. You're a combatant, and sooner or later, we're going to have to treat them like one." And Russia still invaded Ukraine, even though most of their gas, a lot of their gas, flows through Ukraine on its way to Europe. So trade doesn't always mean what you think it means, especially when you have a strong man with a lot of ego involved. So this is somewhat good for Ukraine financially. It's bad strategically. Yeah, Russia loses $100 billion in frozen assets, but they're making about $66 million a day in oil export.
Guys, we got 734 likes. Let's get to 1,000. Smash that thing. Smash it, man. Let's get to 1,000. Get the engagement up.
So at the current price of oil, they can make that money back in about 4.5 years. So it's not economically devastating to Russia that they don't see that frozen money again. It's actually probably about the harshest penalty against Russia in the whole thing, but it's more of a slap on the wrist. Number 15, a joint American-Russian working group on security issues will be established to promote and ensure compliance with all provisions of this agreement. So this means that Moscow gets to influence Western security decisions. I kind of feel like it's that scene from Rick and Morty.
Well, yeah, it's called fucking diplomacy, bro. All diplomacy is you trying to influence your will while they're trying to influence theirs, and you're basically coming to a middle ground. Yeah, you can tell this guy's a libtard, by the way.
Where they're running from scary terror.
He's one of these, like, Putin bad guys, you can tell.
Like, why are we listening to that guy?
You can run, but you can't hide.
I say we try hiding.
But that's the opposite of what...
Yeah, well, since when are we taking this guy's advice on anything?
Russia will enshrine in law its policy of non-aggression towards Europe and Ukraine. Yeah, that's worthless. I mean, Russia changes laws whenever it wants. Number 17, the United States and Russia will agree to extend the validity of treaties on the non-proliferation and control of nuclear weapons, including the START 1 treaty. This is good for global security. It might not be a bad idea in general. The fewer nuclear weapons, the better. You know, that's always a good idea. But this has nothing to do with Ukraine. 18, Ukraine agrees to be a non-nuclear state in accordance with the Treaty on Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. I mean, they're already a non-nuclear state, so really there's no change there. Number 19, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant will be launched under the supervision of the IAEA and the electricity.
Ukraine agrees to be non-nuclear. That we know that. Okay, and electricity produced will be distributed equally between Russia and Ukraine. Interesting. Okay, so they're going to bring the IAEA in, and just so you guys know, the IAEA, let's be honest, they spy for the West all the time. So why the Iranians got them the fuck up out of there?
Electricity produced will be distributed equally between Russia and Ukraine 50-50. This is very bad for Ukraine. This is a major piece of infrastructure that's just gone. Half of it's gone. And it kind of shows that war does pay off. There's also the technical aspect.
Well, people only respect strength, bro, and that's what it comes down to. That's why we're conceding to so many things, because we can't win, dude. Ukraine can't win. The longer we go on with this war, the more... the higher the likelihood we're going to lose even more ground. So you got to stop the bleeding at some point.
Like, what happens at the end of life?
That's just the ugly reality here.
Who manages that? The IAEA? Who pays for it? Russia? Ukraine? Because I could easily say at the end of life of this nuclear plant, Russia just kind of walking away and going, oh, this is Ukraine's problem now. who buys the fuel, who's responsible for what. Does Ukraine get 2 reactors, or does Ukraine get a couple reactors?
And Trump said if Ukraine doesn't agree to this deal, Zelensky could keep fighting with his, his heart out, which basically means, right, I think is a covert way of saying we're going to start kind of, absolving ourselves of this responsibility, this burden in Eastern Europe.
And Russia gets a couple reactors. Like, how does this work? But there's a lot that can go wrong here, and how either side can work with each other when they just don't trust each other, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Number 20, both countries undertake to implement educational programs in schools and society aimed at promoting understanding and tolerance of different cultures and eliminating racism and prejudice. Ukraine will adopt EU rules on religious tolerance and the protection of linguistic minorities. Both countries will agree to abolish all discriminatory measures and guarantee the rights of Ukraine and Russian media and education.
Okay. The reason why this is a big deal, guys, is because there was a lot of fighting in Ukraine of should Russian be taught in school? Should they put Russian in the documents? Because Ukrainian basically is Russian, guys. It basically is the same shit. But this obviously, this cultural and this linguistic difference has created quite a bit of a rift, especially when it comes to the way the education system is. So in other words, older people remember going to school when, they still were using the Russian language, etc. And then obviously with the birth of Ukraine after 1991, it started to change and move over to Ukrainian instead. So this has created a little bit of a point of contention where Ukraine is trying to distance itself from Russia, say we're different, and Putin's like, no, we're all the same. What the fuck? So a small grievance, but it is a big deal to them.
Nazi ideology and activities must be rejected and prohibited. So this is a pretty big concession to Russia, and also
yes, most Ukrainians do speak Russian, but not all.
Kind of like, I'm actually surprised this line doesn't talk about biolabs in Ukraine, right? There's a lot of Russian war talking points in here which don't make any sense to the West, but it kind of means that Ukraine has to rewrite its domestic laws under foreign supervision. But it doesn't necessarily sound like Russia has to do the same, or maybe we're saying, oh yeah, you have to teach that discrimination is bad, like Russia's going to do that. Like, who's going to follow this? Ukraine, right? Russia doesn't get held accountable. So there was this item here about the protection of linguistic minorities. There are some Russian-speaking Ukrainians, especially in the Donbass, is available on government forums, and it's honestly something that both sides would likely ignore anyway. Number 21, territories, Crimea, Luhansk, Donetsk will be recognized as de facto Russian, including by the
These are areas that the Russians took by force.
United States, Kherson.
And they have a high ethnic Russian population anyway.
Zaporizhia will be frozen along the line of contact, which means de facto recognition along the line of contact. Russia will relinquish all other agreed territories it controls outside the 5 regions. Ukrainian forces will withdraw.
Hey guys, we're only at 793 likes, guys. Smash that like button, man. Let's get to 1,000 ninjas. If we don't get to 1,000, I'm going to get off YouTube, bro. I'll give y'all like another 10 minutes. If we don't hit 1,000, I'm going to get off YouTube.
From the part of Donetsk Oblast that they currently control, and this withdrawal zone will be considered neutral, demilitarized buffer zone, internationally recognized as territory belonging to the Russian Federation. Russian forces will not enter this demilitarized zone. I mean, I guess war does pay. I don't know who's going to be the peacekeepers in this demilitarized zone. I don't know what's going to keep Russia out of this demilitarized zone. But make no mistake about it, this is ceding 20% of Ukraine to Russia for the low, low price of concessions by the United States. I've always believed...
Hold on one sec.
Price of...
All right, so this is the land, the territory that, which, like I told you guys before, mostly Eastern Ukraine, which honestly has a lot of ethnic Russians anyway.
Concessions by the United States. I've always believed that Ukraine probably wouldn't get the Donbass back. That means Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast, and that almost certainly means they wouldn't get Crimea back. Not because Ukrainians...
Oh, they're never getting Crimea back. Guys, the reason why they'll never get Crimea back, look at this. From a tactical standpoint, this is very important to have access to the sea like this. Okay? And if I'm not mistaken, is it a warm water port? It might be a warm water port too. Yeah, this is a significant tactical advantage for Russia to have access to sea like this. And they have a military base here as well, guys. They're never giving this shit up. Hell fucking no. Hell no.
Concessions by the United States.
They've had it since 2014.
Believed that Ukraine probably wouldn't get the Donbass back. That means Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast, and that almost certainly means they wouldn't get Crimea back. Not because Ukrainian soldiers aren't brave, but because amphibious operations are hard, and they just simply don't have the troops to mount such an operation. But this is basically handing land to Russia without any...
Okay, someone confirmed for me that it is a warm water port. Thank you so much, OSS. That comes from Al-Islam. Okay, he said he was there in 2003. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Allah Islam. Thank you, bro, for confirming that for me.
Any kind of concession.
Yeah, so in warm water port, where it's located, extremely beneficial from a military strategic standpoint.
And it shows Putin, and more importantly, China, that war does pay. My biggest fear is that this will embolden China to take Taiwan. Number 20.
I don't know, bro.
After agreeing on a
People have been fear-mongering over Taiwan for fucking years now at this point.
future territorial agreements, both the Russian Federation and Ukraine undertake not only to change these agreements by force, any security...
Also, guys, tomorrow, 12 o'clock, I'm going to drop the debate that I did with Clavicular. It was a good debate. It was red pill versus black pill. It was about 2 hours long. I did it yesterday. If you guys want to watch it, it's on Party or on OSS. But I'm going to drop the clip for it for you guys tomorrow. We're going to debut it probably around 12, aka lunchtime. So make sure to tune in. Which one? This one? Okay. No, you're fine. Oh, this is for the Rumble thing, right? Okay. Yeah. All one word? Or sorry.
Okay.
I did it with all spaces.
No, that's fine. Type in
npm then space. Guys, we're doing some coding here. You said install?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, cool. Perfect. That's all I have to see.
All right. Does this thing work or no?
It was working, but let me double check.
All right.
Security guarantees will not
Yeah, no
apply in
worries.
the event of a breach of commitment. I mean, security guarantees are very one-sided here. If Russia can fight under sanctions now, that means they can fight under sanctions in the future. This is meaningless. 23, Russia will not prevent Ukraine from using the Dnieper River for commercial activities, and agreements will be reached on the free transport of grain across the Black Sea.
Yeah, that's simple. Ninjas, we're at 949. We're at 950 likes. 50 more. Let's go.
This is good for Ukraine and good for the Middle East, who is a major grain importer from Ukraine, but ultimately this is unenforceable. I mean, Russia will pull crap like they'll put a chain across the river and then shrug and say, oh, we put a chain across because we were swimming and we can't find the key to unlock it. It's the same crap that China is doing right now, dragging anchors and cutting undersea cables or ramming into and using fire hoses against Filipino Coast Guard vessels. Like that, we are going to allow Russia to basically execute bad behavior with no consequences. 24. A humanitarian committee will be established to resolve outstanding issues. All remaining prisoners and bodies exchanged on an all-for-all basis. All civilian detainees and hostages will be returned, including children. A family reunification program will be implemented. Measures will be taken to alleviate the suffering of victims of the conflict. I mean, this is kind of required by the Geneva Conventions to repatriate all soldiers at the end of the conflict. I also wonder if Melania Trump had something to do with the repatriation of children. Maybe between 20,000 and 35,000 children were stolen by Russia from occupied Ukraine. And you know, what I find kind of crazy is that a lot of people in the Republican Party have been quiet about that when they love to protect children they've been very vocal in the Epstein files, but strangely silent on Russia stealing up to 35,000 children. I mean, you either believe in protecting children or you don't. So you might want to close that loop. Number 25, Ukraine will hold elections in 100 days. This is disastrous for Ukraine. Any kind of election under occupation is destabilizing. Another question is whether the people in these occupied territories get to vote. Do they get to leave? One thing I don't see in this document is, like, will people who are behind enemy lines, who consider themselves Ukrainian, get to go to Ukraine and vote in this election? or will they be forced behind this new Iron Curtain? The only reason you see this provision is that Russia wants Zelensky gone. That was part of the reason for starting this war. Remove Zelensky, install a more pro-Russian.
Yeah, because Zelensky is a puppet for the West. Huge puppet for the West.
Leader as a figurehead. And you can be certain that Russia will do everything within its power to sway the election to a candidate that it wants. And they will use disinformation tactics. Number 26, all parties involved in this conflict will receive full amnesty for their actions during the war and agree not to make any claims or consider any complaints in the future. This is probably the most morally outrageous part of this document. It means that the people who suffered from occupation under Russian security services in Bucha, Mariupol, Kherson, they don't get to see justice. This is also a tough one because typically you only get to prosecute war crimes if you win, right? And there are a heck of a lot of Vietnamese that committed war crimes against U.S. prisoners, right? The Hanoi Hilton. But are those guys ever going to get prosecuted? No, they're never going to get prosecuted. You only get to engage in prosecutions if you win. But this also means that if some of the perpetrators who travel internationally, they can't get arrested for their crimes dragged in front of the Hague. So this is morally indefensible. Ideally, people who commit war crimes should have to look over their shoulders for the rest of their lives. And I'm not talking about soldiers who participated in the conflict. That's war. All right? Yeah, those soldiers who participated in the conflict as general infantrymen, yeah, they should absolutely get amnesty. But the people who knowingly executed civilians, or the people who ordered it, or the people who coordinated it, yeah, they need to be brought to justice. But that's probably not going to happen. Number 27, this agreement will be legally binding. Okay.
That is kind of funny, I ain't gonna lie.
Implementation will be monitored and guaranteed by the Peace Council headed by President Donald J. Trump. Sanctions will be imposed for violations. I mean, again, Russia can fight under sanctions, so this doesn't mean much. Number 28, once all parties agree to the memorandum, the ceasefire will take effect immediately after both sides retreat to the agreed points.
Yeah, and that's standard.
To begin implementation agreement. Generally, freezing the line of contact is bad for Ukraine because Russia will they will yeet as many men forward of the front lines
You got a big military.
In the last hours for the peace treaty, just like in All Quiet on the Western Front. This document is a bad deal for Ukraine and a bad deal for the U.S., but it is a great deal for Russia and for China. And I say China because I have said this from the beginning. This war is not about Ukraine. It is about Taiwan. And the way we behave in Ukraine will let China know how we will behave over Taiwan. And this is bad because it makes,
Well, they're definitely keeping an eye out.
Makes the U.S. look incredibly weak. This peace plan only emboldens China and shows that war does pay. But it is a draft. It was a leaked draft. Drafts can change. Will Russia agree?
All right. Let's go ahead. There was a thing. This came out literally 6 hours ago. So the Kremlin, European counter proposal to U.S. plan unconstructive. So let's see.
Part in talks in Geneva with the U.S. over the weekend isn't even home yet. But already, Russia is rejecting the European counterproposal to Donald Trump's 28-point peace plan to end the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, top EU leaders, meantime, are voicing optimism blended with caution about the newly revised proposal after the first draft was seen as highly favorable to Russia.
Yeah, and they didn't like that. They looked at it like this was just them conceding everything to Russia, which, look, bro, that's the game, baby. That's the game. Right here, I'll show you guys this one that was an earlier thing.
Today, top officials from the U.S., Ukraine, Europe, they're meeting in Geneva, Switzerland today, and they're talking about how to end Russia's war on Ukraine. Now, at the G20 in South Africa, Ukraine's allies are simultaneously working on a unified response to President Trump's 28-point peace plan, and it's been widely criticized as pro-Russia.
If Ukraine loses this war and possibly collapses, it will have an impact on European politics as a whole, on the entire European continent. And that is why we are so committed to this issue. Because if there's a chance to bring about peace, it will also have an impact on the entire European continent.
And President Trump now insists that the 28-point plan is not his final offer. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, they're expected to join In today's talks in Switzerland, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will meet with President Trump before Thanksgiving. And Zelensky has called this moment one of the most difficult in his country's history. We get more now from CNN's Kevin Liptak.
Good morning, Victor. An intensive stretch of diplomacy is now underway before President Trump's Thursday deadline for Ukraine to agree to this 28-point plan for ending the war. An American delegation composed of the Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, the American Secretary of State Marco Rubio, now in Switzerland ahead of meetings with Ukrainian officials who hope to put their imprint on this plan. And we understand that meetings with Russian officials will happen shortly thereafter. President Trump said on Saturday that this plan was not his final offer. And I think that will be reassuring in some ways to those who view this 28-point proposal as essentially a Russian wish list. And many of the points do amount to the maximalist demands that the Kremlin has been making over the course of this war, including that Ukraine give up the entire eastern Donbass region, that it put a cap on the size of its military, that it give up some of its long-range weapons capabilities that it's been provided over the course of this war, and that it agree to never join NATO. And so I think the real question now, and it's the question that I posed to President Trump on Saturday, is what happens if Zelensky does not agree to this plan by Thursday? Listen to what he said.
Well, then he can continue to fight his little heart out.
So you hear the president there.
There you go. He can fight his little heart out. That basically means we're out of it, buddy.
We're not saying specifically what the consequences might be for Zelensky not agreeing to the
That's layman terms for, all right, buddy, you're on your own.
This plan, but I think implicit in his answer is that this will then be Zelensky's war and that he will essentially wash his hands of it. Now, European leaders have been extremely skeptical about this plan. On Saturday, they released a statement saying that it needed additional work and saying that they were in particular concerned about the provisions that would put limitations on Ukraine's armed forces. Even some
down to 600,000, which they're not happy about that.
Republicans here in Washington are voicing concern, including one of the president's top allies in the Senate, the South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, who said that parts of this proposal were, quote, very problematic and can be made better. Perhaps blunter was Mitch McConnell, the former Republican leader in the Senate, by no means a fan of President Trump's. He said that, quote, Putin has spent the entire year trying to play President Trump for a fool. Victor?
All right, Kevin Liptak, thank you very much. For more on today's talks and what's at stake.
Well, let's be honest here. He also wants to buy time because Putin knows the more he has time on his side in a war of attrition, victory is inevitable. And that's what they've been doing. The Ukrainians are really hurting for soldiers right now. Meanwhile, Russia is just fucking treating it like a meat grinder, just throwing bodies at it. And in a war of attrition, time is your best friend.
I want to bring in now global affairs analyst Kimberly Dozier. Good to have you in studio. Let's first get your reaction to the president saying that this is not his final offer after making this a pretty hard deadline for Thanksgiving.
He said that on the way to a plane, and it gives him some maneuver room. But
all right, let's go. This is originally when the plan was submitted. Now let's get back into this broke just a couple hours ago. Now you guys understand kind of what the feeling was when the original plan broke out.
EU leaders meeting in Angola on the sidelines of a summit with the African Union say they are committed to providing Ukraine with diplomatic, military, and economic support. Earlier, CNN spoke to the European Union's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, who made reference to the White House plan that, among other things, called for Ukraine to cede territory under its control.
Smash that like button, ninjas. We're only at 1,000. Let's get to 1,500 now. Let's get to 90% damn near engagement.
If Russia could conquer Ukraine, they would have already done so. So to offer them
well, they can. It's just that they don't want to use a nuclear weapon and completely level the place. They want to take as much of it intact as possible.
Something that they even haven't conquered militarily is, offering something on top of what they already have, or what they have achieved on the battlefield. We shouldn't fall into the traps to discuss all what Ukraine should give away, but bring the discussion back to the territory what Russia should concede, because they have started this war and they are doing the killing.
The U.S. president hinted at big progress in the Geneva talks on a post on social media saying that something good may just be happening in Geneva.
Meanwhile, the war continues. Russia attacked energy facilities across Ukraine overnight, leaving tens of thousands of homes without power. Russia has been regularly striking Ukraine's energy grid, leaving the country without heat and power during the cold months.
Let's bring in CNN State Department reporter Jennifer Hansler. Jennifer, how much optimism is there that this peace plan, obviously it's being revised, started off as this 28-point peace plan that is highly favorable to Russia, even with revisions. How much optimism is there that this potentially could lead to an end in hostilities, even a temporary one?
Bro, these Western European governments, man, they have no power. They have no leverage. Even us, dude. Are we willing to get in a nuclear war over this shit? No. But I think Putin is. He just wants it way more than we do. Simple as that.
Well, we're hearing a remarkable amount of optimism coming out of...
For him, this is what he wants. For us, this is a burden.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who led that U.S. delegation in Geneva yesterday. He came out and spoke to the press twice during the course of those meetings in Switzerland. The first time he said that it had been the best meeting, in his opinion, since the start of the discussions at the beginning of this administration with Ukraine on this matter. After those meetings wrapped up, he said there had been a tremendous amount of progress. However, he did stress that there is still work to be done. He would not go into details about what gaps remain, but he said that they would continue these intensive discussions. Listen to how he described this ongoing, evolving peace plan.
There were items that we were discussing as part of the original 28, or it evolved. This is a living, breathing document. Every day with input, it changes. I can tell you that the items that remain open are not insurmountable. We just need more time than what we have today. I honestly believe we'll get there.
Now, there are indications, though, that there have been changes from that controversial 28-point plan. We saw a joint statement put out last night between Ukraine and the U.S. following those discussions. They said that there had been an updated and refined peace framework. Of course, that 28-point plan that came out in the public last week was widely criticized by European allies, by members of Congress, because of the concessions that it was calling for Ukraine to make. Among those were significant territorial concessions, a limitation on Ukraine's military size, a de facto U.S. recognition of parts of Ukraine that had been seized by Russia, which of course would be a complete 180 from longstanding U.S. policy not to recognize territory that was seized militarily. So that came under a lot of criticism and a lot of concern among Kyiv and the European capitals about what that would mean moving forward. We have seen now some steps back to try to ease that up, but of course these conversations are ongoing, and there is the Russia factor of it. They also have to agree to this. This is something that Rubio also acknowledged. This is going to come down to the leaders of the U.S., of Ukraine, and of Russia. Of course, Moscow is indicating they are not going to also give up any concessions, especially when the 28-point plan was so favorable to them to begin with. So we're going to see what happens here. I should note, guys, also, President Trump last week had indicated he was giving Ukraine until Thursday to accept any sort of plan. Rubio yesterday suggested that timeline could shift here. Guys.
All right, Jennifer Hansler, live for us there. Thank you so much. All right, Russian forces are taking advantage of gaps in Kyiv's defenses to edge forward in a number of key arenas, including Zaporizhia and Pokrovsk. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that Russia has concentrated more than 150,000 troops in the eastern city of Pokrovsk alone in an attempt to finally take control of it after fighting for months.
CNN military analyst and retired Air Force Colonel Cedric Layton joins us now.
All right, guys, we just crossed the 2-hour mark. I think it's OSS time, ninjas. It's OSS time. All right, guys. I'm going to be on for another hour up until about 11 o'clock. So come on over, guys. It's only $1 to join the OSS. Literally. Okay. banned me on Instagram. They demonetized me on YouTube. They banned me on Facebook. They banned me on Twitch. The ADL and the SPLC put me on their hit list, as well as Media Matters. That tells you everything you need to know. They don't want you to hear what I have to say. And that's exactly why the OSS Army exists. The OSS is my uncensored army, where the truth prevails over all the lies. But OSS isn't just content, guys. It's a movement. It doesn't feel like a group. It's a force. It's an army. Inside the community, you connect with like-minded individuals that aren't afraid to question the narrative. 46,000 plus strong, pushing towards 10,000. Every new member makes the message louder, and they can't censor all of us. This is where you can speak freely and not have to be worried about being judged, fired, labeled a hater, anti-Semite, misogynist, or any of these other stupid-ass buzz terms that they like to use for people that are critical thinkers. The movement goes beyond the live stream. We build a community. We're able to have discussions. We're able to go ahead and interact with each other the way that we want, where we don't have to worry about censorship. We have a Telegram group where you can connect with like-minded guys. We have a Discord that's completely free, and we do one annual meetup per year in Miami on 420. You'll also get access to exclusive live streams you won't find on YouTube, call-on portions of the show, and other goodies that you won't find anywhere else. And even the merch is a part of the mission. But it's not about fashion. It's about an identity. You have the ability to think critically and challenge the narrative. High quality Nike gear, and not ridiculously branded, that allows you to identify each other without being too overt and understanding that you know what the hell is up. So you can go ahead and move covertly with your red pill awareness compared to other blue pill normies. All of this for just $10 a month, or you can join for the year. Use JFK 911 as a promo code, and you get in for $50 for the year. This isn't just content. It's resistance, it's culture, and it's freedom. It's the OSS Army. And there you guys go, man. You guys can jump on in. We're going to switch on over right now where all the real niggas are at. Come on over to OSS. Only $1, guys. Use the L YouTube. We're going to cover the rest of this debate right here, deport all illegals. And then also, if we have time, I'm going to make fun of dumbass Abba and Preach for going at Officer Tatum. So they did some bullshit yesterday. So come on over, guys. We're going to update the stream.